Something happened while you were not watching. Heaven grew still, not in the way silence usually falls. Slow, creeping, like an ending. This was different. This was the kind of stillness that follows something rare. The kind that comes when all of heaven turns to look at the same thing at the same time. And what heaven turned to look at was you. I want you to hear what I am about to say not as a comfort. Hear it as fact. You have been through things that had the full intention of finishing you, not discouraging you, not delaying you, finishing you completely. There were seasons where the pressure did not let up, where one hard thing barely ended before the next one arrived, where you had to keep choosing to get up when getting up felt dishonest, when you felt nothing like someone who was going to be all right, and yet you did not fully stop. That is what caught heaven's attention. Not your best days, not the moments when you had it together. What made heaven go quiet was the moments when you did not have it together, and something in you still kept reaching for me. A whisper when you had nothing left. A reluctant step back toward the place where you knew I was, even when you felt no certainty that I would answer. You thought those moments were your weakest. Heaven read them as something else entirely, my child. You left me speechless. I want you to sit with that, not because you performed well, not because your record was clean, but because inside the place where pressure breaks, most people, the hidden place that nobody else sees, you held something that should have buckled. You bent. I watched you bend. There were moments where I could see exactly how close you were to letting go entirely, but there was a thread you kept holding, not tightly, sometimes barely, but you held it. That thread was not stubbornness. It was not willpower. I put it there. What I plant does not uproot easily. Even when the ground shook, the root held. That is not something you manufactured. That is something I placed in the deepest part of who you are. And the weight of everything this season threw at you proved it is real. Now I need you to understand what I am not saying. I am not saying the hard things were good. I am not standing over what you suffered and calling it a gift. Pain is not a prize. Loss is not a reward. What came against you was real and it was heavy. I know how heavy it was. I was there for every hour of it, not watching from a distance, but present in the very room where you sat alone and wondered how much longer you could keep going. I did not look away. I have never looked away from you. If you believe I was truly there with you in your hardest hours like this message right now, subscribe so you never sit through a hard season without this voice reaching you, and type "I was not alone" in the comments so that memory becomes something you can return to. There is something I need you to hold before anything else is said. I was not unmoved by what you walked through. I did not observe it the way you observe something from behind glass. At a safe distance, untouched. I was in it with you every night that stretched too long, every morning that arrived without relief, every moment where the silence felt like an answer you were not ready to hear. I was there through all of it, and what I was doing in those moments was not nothing. I was not simply waiting for you to endure your way to the other side. I was holding what you could not hold. I was keeping intact what the pressure was trying to destroy. That work was real, even when you could not feel it happening and it mattered. What I placed in you was already there long before this season arrived. The pressure did not create it. The pressure revealed it, and what it revealed was something rare enough to make heaven stop and take notice. Before we go any further, if something in this message is already moving inside you, I want you to act on that. We are $5,000 away from completing this mission, and we are trusting God to raise it through people whose hearts are already stirred. The link is in the description below and pinned in the comments. When you pour into something that pours into you, you open a channel between yourself and heaven. Every gift is a declaration that you are ready to receive. Check that link whenever you feel led. Heaven takes notice of every act of obedience. Now let us keep going. You kept your integrity when it would have been easier to let it go. You stayed honest when a lie would have been simpler. You remained when remaining was the harder path and when the ones you trusted let you down. You did not harden the way hurt usually hardens a person. You stayed open. You stayed willing. That is not nothing. Those are not small things to the eye. They look like nothing. To heaven they carry enormous weight. There are people who look confident from the outside and are hollow on the inside. There are people who seem strong in public and crumble when no one is watching. What I found in you was the other way around. In the open, you were often uncertain. You doubted, you worried. You went through stretches where hope felt like a thing you could not quite hold in your hands anymore. But in the place no one else could see, in the quiet core where a person's real character lives, there was something stable, something settled, something that would not fully agree with the verdict being spoken over your life by the hardship, by the disappointment, by the voices that suggested you were ordinary and small. Heaven sees that place. I built it, and what I saw inside it moved me not as a figure of speech, not as a comfort phrase, but in the way that truth moves the one who knows what it costs to make something hold. Now I want to tell you what was found inside that place. I want to name it clearly. I want you to hear it plainly without the filter of doubt softening it before it can reach you. Because what was discovered about you in this season is not small. It is the kind of thing that shifts how you see your past, your present, and the ground you are about to walk into. So before I tell you everything else, before I speak of what comes next, what is shifting, and what is being released over your life, receive this one thing first. You were not forgotten. You were never abandoned. The quiet was not emptiness. What you lived through was seen in full. From the first moment the weight arrived to the last hour of the longest night. And what was found inside you when the pressure was at its heaviest. That is what I have come to speak to you about today. There is a word for what I found inside you, but I want to approach it carefully because the first time most people hear it applied to themselves, they resist it. They shake their head. They think of all the ways it could not possibly be true. The word is rare. Not rare because you have never made a mistake. Not rare because you are better than the people around you. Rare because of what was found underneath the pressure. Rare because of what did not leave when everything else seemed to. When betrayal came, I watched for bitterness. In most people, bitterness arrives quickly after a wound. It makes a certain kind of sense. The hurt is real, the cause is unjust, and bitterness at least feels like something. Like a grip on the situation, like a way to not be helpless. But when betrayal came to you, and it did come, I watched your heart. And what I found was not bitterness taking root. There was pain, real pain. But the bitterness had nothing to grip. Something in you kept releasing the very thing that should have poisoned you. Not quickly, not without a fight, but it kept releasing. That is not common. When silence stretched on longer than you expected, when answers did not come and explanations did not arrive. I watched for what fills that space in most people's hearts. Long silence breeds anger in many people, or resignation, or the slow, quiet decision to stop trusting in you. The silence hurt. I will not pretend otherwise. But underneath the hurt, you kept something alive that most people release in those seasons. You kept reaching small, quiet, sometimes barely a reach at all. But you did not go fully silent on me. You kept the line open even when you heard nothing back. That is the kind of faith that counts. Not the faith that praises loudly when things are good. The faith that sits in a dark room and whispers my name anyway. Not because it feels anything, but because it refuses to let go completely. I found loyalty in you where others left. Not the kind of loyalty that is easy to maintain when things are going well. The kind that holds when holding costs something. I found patience in places where frustration would have been completely understandable. You were not patient because it was easy. You were patient because something in you chose it even when everything else pushed against it. I found kindness still operating in you after you had been treated without kindness. You still chose to be gentle when you had every right to harden. You did not perform that softness for people to observe. I watched it in your private choices, in how you treated others, when no one was grading you, in the decisions you made when the only witness was yourself and me. That is the real measure of a person. Not what they do on display, what they do when they are alone and tired, and the easier wrong is available. And I found something else. Something even harder to hold on to after the kind of pain you walked through. I found that your ability to feel with other people did not close down after being hurt yourself. There would have been no shame in pulling back, in protecting yourself, in deciding that you had enough to carry without taking on the weight of others. But that is not what happened. You remained open. You still felt the weight of other people's struggles even when you were under your own. You still made room. You still showed up. That is an uncommon thing in a person who has been through what you have been through. That combination, loyalty under pressure, faith that holds through long silence, compassion that survives personal pain, does not occur automatically. I have watched people go through tremendous weight and come out closed, armored, unreachable, hardened in the way that something becomes when the life is pressed out of it. What you came out with was different. You came out with something I can only describe as depth. Depth does not announce itself. It does not ask for recognition. It does not even always know it is there, but it shows up when it is needed. It shows in how you handle things that are too heavy for a shallow person to carry. It shows in the choices you make when no one is watching, and the easy or wrong is right in front of you. It shows in the way you enter a room. Even now, even after everything, still carrying something that has not been used up. You have depth, my child. It was built through things that cost you, through seasons that asked more than you felt you had, through moments where the only way through was through. And what was built in those moments is real. It is not a feeling or an impression. It is something solid. It has already been tested under conditions designed to destroy it, and it held you thought those seasons meant something was wrong with you. You measured yourself against people who seemed further along, people who looked like they were moving forward while you felt stuck. But that comparison was never a fair one. Their path was not your path. Their timeline was not your timeline. And what was being built in you during that time was something that does not get built while you are moving fast. It gets built in the slow places, in the still places, in the places where there is nothing to do but hold on. You held on. And what was found in you because of it is something heaven has not been quiet about. Most people will never know what was found, but you were drawn to this moment for a reason. And that reason is this. Heaven has something to say to you that has been held long enough. Declare your amen if you have faith. If this word has poured into your life today, I want to invite you to pour something back. We are trusting God for the final $5,000 to see this mission through. And your seed, however small, could be what closes the gap. Visit the link in the first comment, or scan the code on your screen. When you give into the work that speaks life into you, God takes that seed and multiplies it back into your own season. If you feel led, go there now. Every offering is seen. Every offering is honored, and God is not done. The attacks you experienced were not random. I need you to understand this clearly because many people look at the hardship they have faced and conclude one of two things: either that they are unlucky or that somehow they deserved it. Neither is what happened with you. The attacks that came against you were specific, targeted. That is not something to take lightly. You do not deploy targeted pressure against something ordinary. You do not spend focused energy trying to undo something that poses no threat. The enemy studied you before he moved, and what he studied alarmed him. He saw what I placed inside you. He could not create it. He could not take it. But he could try to get you to walk away from it voluntarily. He could not erase your calling. But if he could get you to disbelieve it, if he could get you to look at yourself and conclude that you were ordinary, unimportant, too broken to matter, then what I placed in you would sit dormant, not destroyed, but inactive, unused. And that was his aim. So the attack did not come as something obvious. It came quietly. It came as a consistent suggestion. The suggestion took many forms. You are behind. You are not like others. You have missed too much. The things that hurt you have marked you permanently. You will always be at this same level. No one who really sees you stays. These were not idle thoughts. They were placed with purpose. The enemy does not waste effort on targets that do not matter to him. The very consistency of the pressure is itself a signal. It tells you something about what was at stake. There were times when you believed the lies. I will not pretend otherwise. There were seasons when you looked at yourself and what you saw was mostly the damage, when you measured yourself against others and came away feeling small, when the whisper that said you had been passed over felt more real than anything I had told you. You almost settled into that conclusion. You almost signed your name to the sentence that said you were finished, but you could not fully commit to it. Every time you moved close to accepting the worst as permanent, something would resist. Not loudly, sometimes just a flicker, a reluctance, an unwillingness to completely let go of the possibility that the story was not over. That resistance was not yours alone. It was also mine. I kept a thread of truth alive in you even when the lies were loudest. I would not let the truth about who you are be permanently buried under a deception, because what I placed in you is real, and real things do not respond to the enemy's authority. He had access to your circumstances. He never had access to your core. So the lies came in through the side doors. He used comparison, placing people in your view who seemed further along, more confident, more established. And slowly, comparison did what comparison always does. It made you measure progress on a scale that was never designed for your path. You started judging your timing by someone else's calendar, your worth by someone else's visible results. And that is an impossible way to measure anything real. He used shame. Shame for choices made in harder seasons. Shame for the gaps. Shame for what you had not yet done, for what you had not yet become. Shame is a specific kind of attack. It does not just say you did something wrong. It says you are something wrong. There is a difference. Conviction points to a specific thing and invites correction. Shame points to your whole person and invites you to disappear. That was the aim, to make you pull back, to make you feel that the best thing you could do for everyone was to make yourself smaller. But what I put in you cannot be taken away. Not by the weight of your history, not by the mistakes that live in your past, not by the disappointment that came through people who should have been safe, not by the seasons that lasted longer than you could have anticipated. None of those things hold the authority to unmake what I spoke into being in you. The enemy tried every entrance. He found your doubt and used it. He found your longing for approval and turned it against you. He found the places where you were most sensitive and pressed there. But what I have written in you is not written in something that pressure can reach. He could bend you toward the lie. He could not get you to swear allegiance to it. And that made all the difference. You are still here. That is not a small thing. Every time the attack came and you did not stay completely gone, every time you came back, even reluctantly, even exhausted, even unsure, the enemy's plan failed. Not dramatically, not with a shout, just quietly. Faithfully, he failed. What was built in you through those attacks stands intact. The lies shaped no permanent thing in you. They came, and they pressed hard. But the foundation I laid held. The truth lived beneath everything that was piled on top of it. And because it is still there, undestroyed, uncankled, it is now free to rise. I need you to understand something that might have caused you pain at the time. The truth I am telling you now, I have known it the whole time. It was never hidden from me. And there were moments, seasons even, when you cried out and asked me to show you who you were, to confirm your worth, to tell you plainly what was happening and why and where it was all going. And I stayed quiet. I want to explain that silence to you now because you deserve the explanation. Revelation does not travel well to a heart that is not yet ready to carry it. That is not a criticism of you. It is a matter of structure. If I had spoken this truth to you too early, before the shaping, before the stretching, before you had learned to distinguish between approval from people and direction from me, it would not have helped you. It would have worked against you. And I will not do things that work against you, even when they feel like the thing you need most in the moment. There are two ways early revelation can damage a person. The first is pride. When someone learns something true and significant about themselves before their character is ready to hold it, the truth curls in on itself and becomes arrogance. They begin to perform an identity rather than carry one. They stop needing me because they feel they now have an answer about themselves. The very word I meant to anchor them becomes a trophy they hold over others. That is not what I intended for you. What I was speaking over your life was always meant to ground you, not elevate you above people, but root you deeply enough to stand beside them and serve them with what you carry. The second is fear. For some people, hearing the size of what they carry before they are grounded enough to receive, it is simply too much. They retreat. They convince themselves it cannot really be them. They run from the word rather than grow into it. If you can now see that my silence was never neglect but precision. Like this message as your way of trusting the timing. Subscribe so you keep hearing this voice even in the seasons that feel quiet. And type "I trust your timing" in the comments so that trust becomes something spoken, not just felt. And running from it leaves them more lost than not knowing it at all. I watched you carefully through this season. I watched whether difficulty was making you humble or making you brittle. I watched where the silence was deepening your trust or feeding resentment. I watched the quiet work that was happening in you below the surface, where no one else could see, where no one was applauding or even aware that anything was being built. And what I saw told me that the shape of your character was moving towards something that could hold this truth. Your humility was becoming real, not performed for others, but genuine. Your patience was becoming steady. Your need for me was growing bigger than your need for recognition. Those shifts matter enormously because a person who needs me more than they need attention can carry revelation without it distorting them. The silence was not neglect. It was precision. You were never absent from me. I was focused on forming you, creating a vessel to hold what is essential. I recognized the delay felt frustrating, but crafting depth takes time. Rushed processes yield fragile outcomes. I was ensuring you were secure before what is inside was exposed. The silent seasons were not empty. They were filled with necessary inward growth that would withstand difficulties. You were being shaped quietly while the world moved around you now. Your character can support your calling, embodying humility and depth to carry truth without distortion. Your worth was never in question. It was established before you proved anything. The pause was a decision about your readiness, not a denouncement of your value. You have evolved through hardship, which tried to define you, but I rooted your identity in deeper, untouchable places, beyond circumstances or opinions. The path laid for you differs from others. Measuring progress against them is unhelpful. You are significant and should no longer diminish yourself preemptively. What is within you is resilient, worthy of visibility. Accept your identity. The struggles have confirmed your strength. Embrace this awakening. It is vital and part of a divine plan. If you nurture others, you will be nurtured in return. Experiencing adversity reveals something valuable ahead. You have endured the pressure, emerging intact despite attempts to define you by past struggles. This is not mere coincidence. Internal strength remains impervious to external influences. Your identity is not dictated by adverse experiences. Instead, acknowledge that you are not defined by your hardest seasons, but by the truth of what you carry within. Challenge negative self-talk and refrain from narrating your life through the lens of past challenges. New visibility is imminent, but it is not about fame. It is about the depth and resilience you have developed through those tough times. Your experiences will be invaluable to others facing similar darkness. As you step into this new phase, resist the voice of comparison that may arise. You have learned that true foundation comes from inner validation rather than external approval. Walk confidently into your new season, recognizing the weight of your journey. What was built in quietness is poised to manifest in open spaces. Your struggles, rather than disqualifying you, enhance your credibility. Embrace your authentic self, for the qualities that once made you feel invisible will grant your voice profound impact and trustworthiness. Trust in your preparedness for this unfolding journey. The message emphasizes the importance of recognizing your inner strength and readiness as you transition into a new season of life. It highlights that what you have carried through hidden struggles holds more authority than past performances. You are encouraged to let go of self-defeating language, acknowledging that your experiences have shaped you into someone resilient and unique. The strength you possess is not about being unfeeling, but rather about enduring hardships without breaking. You are reassured that you are not forgotten or behind. Your journey is unique to you. It is time to step into the next chapter with humility, confidence, and the understanding that you were never alone in your struggles. The message assures you that what has been cultivated within you is now ready to be expressed openly. If this ministry has strengthened your faith, consider becoming part of how it reaches further. We are believing God for the final $5,000 for this mission. And when you give through the link in the description or pinned comment, you are not just supporting a channel, you are fueling the Great Commission. There are people one message away from hope, one encounter away from surrender. Your generosity helps us reach them, into places we may never physically stand. Every gift becomes gospel carried further. This is not just support, this is participation. And what you sow into this harvest field, God will return to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. As you move forward, speak about yourself with care. Embrace your worth, and recognize that the foundation of your future is built on your past experiences. You are invited to affirm this new reality and deepen your connection to Archangel Michael's guidance for further empowerment. Your breakthrough is imminent, waiting for you to take the next step. Do something today to protect what is coming. Please like this video if you want God's blessing to come into your life. Send this video to someone who needs to see it today. You bring the anointing to life when you share this prophetic word, and God's breakthrough will also come through your circle.